Hey everybody, Larry Lawton here. What a great video we're going to do today. Let me tell you what we're doing here. I am in Coleman prison. This is the second prison I was in. I was in this prison after Atlanta. My points went down, so I was able to go to what they call a medium security prison. And I'm going to go into the prison after this, show you around. This is the biggest prison complex in the Bureau of Prisons. There's probably near 10,000 inmates here. 10,000 inmates. And we're right here in Central Florida. This is the prison where the SIS, the lieutenant, they call him the SIS. He's the guy that really, said that I was trying to run the compound. I had a cook. I had, my cell clean. I didn't do much. I really had it made here. You got to remember something. I came from a penitentiary. When you come from a penitentiary and you go to a place like this, it's easy. I mean, it's like, holy shit, is this what prison is about? Physical wise and the threat of violence wise and everything else. Obviously all prisons have violence. They all have stabbings and they all have hangings and they all have drugs and they all have all the stuff that I talk about all the time on this channel. But coming from Atlanta, this prison was cake, we called it. This is like, one of the easiest prisons you can go to. Totally easiest prison you can go to. And I didn't last here but about a year. And also when I got rearrested after getting out in a halfway house and they brought me back to prison, I ended up going to the Seminole County Jail, which wasn't far from here, and then they brought me back into the same prison that I was at, and I knew everybody there. It was like old home week. It was just crazy, but that's what they did in the prison system. I mean, they don't give a shit about Larry Lawton or anybody else for that matter. But here's another great note about this prison. This is the prison that I came back and spoke at in the same prison I was in. I was in the FCI medium, and I actually, about 2 years ago, came back here and spoke to what they call the pre-release class. It was weird because they let me go to speak at the medium security prison that I was in. Only person to ever do that. I came in, I spoke at the prison, but I also got to go to the women's prison and speak at the women's prison. And I'll tell you what, those women prisons, some of them look fucking rough. But they were tough fucking people, they did their crimes. There were murderers in there. This is not a camp prison, woman for the camp. This is a fucking prison that you have people who have life sentences, murderers, whatever, women, And I met the warden and the captain. It was so weird walking around a yard. And in the yard, what am I doing? I'm actually walking on the compound, not in a movement, because all these high security prisons, mediums, lows, they all have what they call control movements. I'm not sure about lows. I know mediums and highs have what they call control movements. Well, here I am coming back into the prison. You want to talk about, and I was treated nice. And this is before YouTube, guys. This is when I was doing what I do for helping people reintegrate into society, helping people not go to prison, helping young people not go to prison. That's what, as you all know, one of my biggest things is helping people not go to prison. That's what I do, and that's what I think is very important, to show you guys that prison isn't a place just to go to. So anyway, I'm in this prison, and they bring me back in to speak. And as you can see up here, Darian's putting up the certificate that they gave me, and they gave me this little plaque and all this thank you stuff. And I was invited in by the warden of the prison. And it was so funny because when I went into prison, I saw friends of mine who were still there. And a matter of fact, it was funny because the guy said, if you look at my video with Tellini, Paulie was talking about how he got emails and notes from other guys. Oh man, did you hear Larry was just back here? Holy shit, he's doing good. Larry's trying to help people. What the fuck? And I was the guest speaker at they call it the pre-release class, which is a fucking joke. They don't really want to help you pre-release. That's just, it's a game they play. But I was invited to back in, and I was told what I can do, can't do, stuff like that when I came in here. But do you think I did everything they said? Come on, it's me, man. I didn't. I ended up giving my business cards out. I ended up talking to people I probably wasn't supposed to talk to, because they didn't like, the fact that, oh, this is a guy here going to tell them what. Not that I'm telling people anything bad. Not that I'm telling them what to. I'm telling them, man, you can make it, man. You can get out of prison. You can be somebody. You can do something. And again, this is before YouTube. So this is when I was doing the reality check program, which you guys know about my reality check program. And matter of fact, if you haven't read my book, Gangster Redemption, make sure you read my book, Gangster Redemption, because it has that in there. And it's really, really important shit, you know, that people need to see and read, because it's the truth about the prison system. It's the truth about my life. And it's the truth about, you know, what goes on in prisons. And we have to stop this shit. You know, my goal at all times is to make sure people do the right thing. My goal is to make sure people who get out don't go back. You know, the recidivism rate, the recidivism means the rate of a person going back to prison after being in prison. Well, the prison recidivism rate is so high in the United States. It's terrible. It's at upwards of 70% depending on where you leave the prison system from. Like if you leave the prison system from the shoe or hole, you know what I call it, you have a higher rate of coming back to prison. And that's sad, you know what I mean? And it also depends on what level prison and how long you went in and stuff of that nature. Think of a guy who goes to prison for 20 fucking years. Or even me, when I went to prison, I went in 1996. I didn't get out of prison until 2007, straight. 1996 to 2007. If you don't think my fucking brain was fucked up, it was. Trust me, my brain was fucked up. And I'll tell you what, though, I'm lucky to be able to do these. But, you know, I got a question on one of these things, and how do you feel about doing this kind of stuff? And I'll tell you the truth, I feel weird. It's weird seeing these prisons from the outside, not from the inside. You know, the inside, I tell you where everything is, where the yard is, where the R&D is, where the library is, the law library, where the hole is, the shoe. And I do that in other videos. But this prison right here is one of the prisons that had probably the better of the prisons. They had an asshole fucking lieutenant who was also SIS lieutenant named Figueroa. Never forget. I'll never forget his name, Figueroa. And fuck Figueroa, you know, I don't give a shit about Figueroa. Fuck him. You know, he's a fucking guy that just wants to put his foot on your neck. And fucking, when I say put their foot on your neck, if you're doing anything positive or anything, they look for shit to fucking send you out of there. They thought I was too of a convict, of a guy who's gonna, you know, give people a lot of shit or give guards, because I didn't give a fuck. You gotta remember, coming from USP Atlanta, which was the worst prison in the Bureau of Prisons at the time, I didn't give a fuck about too much. What are you gonna do, put me back in a penitentiary? I fucking just came from a penitentiary. In fact, I came from the worst penitentiary in the system. But this complex is well known throughout the Bureau of Prisons because it's so big. It is just massive. And each prison is run by itself. They have a warden, associate warden, captains, lieutenants, the whole fucking 9 yards in each prison. So each prison is a little bit different, and how they run those prisons is really up to the warden. Obviously, they have different areas. In fact, when I came back here, the warden wasn't a bad guy. He was actually a pretty stand-up guy. He told me the truth. He knew what the fuck time it was with me. I mean, I was always vocal about prisons. I was always vocal about things that go on in prisons, because that's just who I am. I'm not gonna fucking not do it for whatever reason, you know, because, oh, I'm gonna, you know, be one of those government titty boys, you want to call it, or whatever it is. That's not Larry, man. Larry's not gonna do that. That's just not who Larry is. Larry's gonna come here, tell it like it is, and do whatever the fuck I gotta do to survive in these prisons. One, and now my goal, of course, is to make sure the public knows about these fucking terrible prison system the United States has. And unless they get guys like me, Larry Lawton, or Paul Tellini, or people who've been in them, who are rehabilitated, who do have a good heart, who do have compassion and empathy for people, until you have people on whatever advisory committee they have helping these prisons will never change. What they need is guys like me, because what right now, who runs these prisons is people who've never been inside. These people don't know what it's like to live in here, to eat in here, to feel your family, lose a family member, do everything that goes on in prison. They don't know about that. And that's bullshit, you know. I look at that in a very deep way. They need to put together a board, or they need to put together an advisory team, and it has to have a guy like myself on it, who wants to see. I understand there's people in here should never get out in these penitentiaries. I understand that. I totally get it. But I also know there's 95% of these people are getting out. And when they get out, I hope they're a good person, because if they're not, I don't want them living next to me, my mother or somebody else or my friend or my sister or you or anybody. I don't want those animals living next to us. So I get prisons, but I do want a person who gets out to have hope, to have a chance to make a living, have a chance to change his life. You do enough years in these fucking prisons, and I guarantee you, your mind starts thinking differently. One, you don't want it to be down. You don't want it to be, fuck this shit. I know how to survive in prison. Fuck it. Let me just do what I'm going to do, try to make a lot of money and get back into what I got into. And before you know it, that dude is fucking back in prison. Guaranteed. I don't want that. I want the person who comes out of this prison to have hope and pay taxes. I was on a TV show with Lieutenant Governor of Florida. Lieutenant Governor of Florida, look it up on Fox News. And he said to me, Larry, your program's the best program I ever saw. Because if we can rehabilitate people and get them out, they're not only not reoffending, and it costs $28,000 a year to house someone in here. $28,000 a year. Think what I just said. 28 grand just to keep a person in this prison. 28,000. If we could keep people from going to prison, we not only save the 28,000. This is the Lieutenant Governor, Jeff Cockcamp, told me this. He said, Larry, not only is your program so good, it also helps people because now if they're a tax-paying person, they're now a part of the community. They're buying groceries, they're renting an apartment, they're doing whatever they got to do. They're not only not going back and costing the government $28,000, they're also now putting money back into society. And isn't that what we all want? You're out there right now and you can get up and you can go to your refrigerator, you can get something, you can throw the phone down, you can do whatever you want, and you have it made. People can't do that. And a person getting out has to be able to do that and more and realize that life is better on the outside because they know how to survive here. Trust me, if they put me in this prison right now, I could fucking survive any prison in here. Easily. Because I live there. I know what to do. I know all the scams. I know the fucking stamp scams and everything that goes on in prisons. I know it. So with that said, I don't want to go back in there, but I can survive it. And at what point do you keep putting your foot on Larry Lawton's neck to make him not make a life out here before Larry Lawton says, fuck you, I'm gonna do something bad. Now, I'm not gonna, but there are people who think just like I just said. So let me go into the prison and I'm going to show you the prison. We're going to drive through it. All right, everybody, here we are. I'm going into the prison. Actually going into the prison complex that has those 5 prisons I told you about. There's nobody at this gate, which I remember when I came and spoke here, there's nobody at this gate. I do remember this wind farm. And again, this is the one prison that I know that I came to before I got in here. Now it looks like we're coming up to a COVID stop of some sort. I don't know. Let's see what's going to happen here. It looks like we have to stop. What is it doing? Hold on. Let's see what happens. Okay, we were just stopped at the main gate and they tested us for fevers or anything like that. And they asked who I was coming to see, and I told them I'm trying to get in to speak to the warden. So I don't know how that's going to go. So I just wanted to tell everybody what's going on. Even if we just go drive through this prison. We just got through the prison, but we didn't lie. I'm trying to go up there and try to see if I can get something. Okay, here on the left, everybody, is the woman prison. This is the camp, this is the camp, actually. This is the camp, and I think they have a lot of women there. I was in there. So they do have women in there, and that's the female part of the prison. I went in that prison and spoke to all the women. Now look at the complex we're in now. This is all federal government property. You are talking about federal government property. So we're gonna be going up to see the prison itself and see what happens. I've never said anything that I wasn't gonna try to do. So if they came and said something to me, you know, that's a whole different animal. So I'm gonna go up to the front of the prison, ask if I can speak to the warden or somebody, and maybe they'll grant me an interview, but we're gonna see. So here we are, we're coming up to the prisons. FCI medium. Now we're going to the medium right now. The low is that side. This is what my prison was. I was in this prison. I remember those handball courts well. I remember everything about this prison. Those are dorms right there. You're looking at, you see the high buildings, they're dorms. These are the SHU. Over here, there's black windows or the chute. That's all those are the chute. So we're gonna go up to the prison here. That's the administration. USP Coleman Penitentiary 1. This is where you're gonna get murdered. This is where you're gonna get killed. My friend Skeeter was sent here after he beat a guy with a lock in Jessup. You remember Skeeter, Dave? John Getz. I remember before you. But anyway, we're going down to see the penitentiary. And the reason I'm doing all this now is in case they kick me out of here. Okay, see the gun towers? There are manned gun towers. They're watching us right now in this whole penitentiary. As you can see, look at this. The gun towers are all over the place. The walls and USP. We're just going to turn around here and go back to the medium security prison. I just wanted to get everybody an idea of what these places look like from the outside. They're weird, man. They give me goosebumps. Visitors Park, go left. And that's it, United States Penitentiary, Federal Correctional, and a cop going in, as we call them cops. There's the gun towers. Those gun towers are on us like you wouldn't believe. They're watching us, guaranteed watching us. So we're just gonna turn around here, go to the medium. I'm gonna go knock on the door in the medium and see if I can speak to somebody in the prison. Man, it is giving me goosebumps to be in these places. I can't stand it. It is what it is, though. That's why I'm doing this, to show you guys. Look at those walls. Look at those. See, this place is surrounded by the buildings as walls. Look at that. No inmate can see out of this facility, ever, ever. You will never see a car. You will never see another human being except a guard or a person that comes into the prison. See, now that other side over there is USP 2. So that's another prison on the other side of the facility. I'll be honest, guys, this is a creepy place. I hate these facilities. I can't wait to leave again. Obviously, I'm doing all this, and people ask me, how can you do it? You know, you could do it because you want to expose what goes on in these places. You really do. That's what I want to do, is expose all the crap that goes on in these facilities. Okay, here we are going back. That's the administration building. This place is so big. They have an administration warden, or actually have another warden that runs all the prisons. But then each prison has its own warden. So there's a lot of wardens in this facility. So we're going up to the front door of the medium. Not this way, Dave, next one. And I'm gonna go up to the front door and see if I can walk in and see what's going on. Straight ahead. Visitors. He's going to the visitors area. And that was where I was at. And now let me get out and park and go. Well, everybody, I was denied. Left. I was denied entry into the medium security prison, and they didn't care about who I was or anything. I didn't say who I was. I just said I'd like to speak to somebody in the administration, and they wouldn't let me do that. They said, nope, you have to have an appointment, and I wasn't allowed to film. They asked me if I was filming. I said no. I am filming out here, but that was my prison, everybody, right there. And I was in that facility for a long time, and you can see on the other end the basketball courts, the track. I remember all of that area very, very well. It's amazing how they won't let anybody see what's going on. Obviously, it's a stretch for me to think I can get into the prison. It's just a stretch. All right, everybody, we just went through the main gate, and we're back out, I call it, into the free world. Because trust me, when you're on this property, you're not in the free world. Don't anybody think you are. So we are out of here, and now I'm in free world. I'm feeling a little better already. Don't let anybody kid you. This is not easy doing this stuff, going to the prisons. Because when you're on their property, you are fucking subject to a lot of shit you don't want. Just the way it is.